feminine to masculine. So there's this, just like I mentioned, like, I want to be like my dad, and then the second was the road of trials. The third was the illusion of success, where I mentioned, being there as well, just thinking this is what I want, and then it's not what it's cut out to be. And then there's the descent into the darkness and a meeting with the goddess. And then at the end of that, there's a reconciliation with the feminine. And then finally, the last stage is the reincorporation of the masculine, to bring about the union and this balance between the masculine and feminine energies we all have within us. So, I just see life as this repeated cycle of these going into the dark and coming out with the gold. That's why I'm starting to see suffering as just such an important part of the process of growth, because that's where we glean the gold, when we're in the trenches dealing with stuff. And, that's where our creative energy comes from, is these life experiences that take us deeper and deeper within ourselves. And we bring up something new that we've learned and incorporate that into our experience. And fear just sort of diminishes as we begin to realize that we have what it takes to cope with whatever life brings.
This is such an important idea. So again, in the healing circles, we are constantly encouraging people to go ahead and embrace this piece, because as we go deeper, we peel the layers off, we get to the next deepest layer, and we find the gifts, right? And you and I know that we've done some of the work, we have felt it for ourselves. But the thing that people say to me most often is, I don't want to go there because I'm afraid once I open up that Pandora's box, I will get stuck and I will not be able to get back out again. So these people have been through serious trauma and tragedy. They don't want to relive it. They're afraid of getting stuck in there again. And so I know what I say about it. And of course, we just listened to you talk about how important it is to go to those places, that is where the gifts of your creativity lie. But so let's talk about real practical tools about how to do it and get through the fear of you're never going to get out of it again.
Right.
What would you suggest?
Yeah.
What's step one? What's the baby step?
It goes back to surrender. I mean, honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm not doing it, if that makes sense. It's almost like I'm being led into a process that if I just surrender to it, the right people, the right books, the right podcast come to me. It's such a strange, this is so important. I don't know that it's discussed a lot, but this idea that we don't have to do and search and rush and push, that things will come to us that we need in the right time. And when we recognize that they're right in front of us, if we will just allow, just for that moment, let the fear go and say, let me just see. Let's just see what's behind this person that's just shared this with me. Let's see what's behind this and take the risk to go a little bit deeper and allow. And it's like we enter into this process that just takes us on the ride. It's not something we have to go out and search for. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. I wish we had like 3 more hours to talk about this one exact thing because it's so important. Yeah, I know. And it's hard to talk about, right? So you're thinking about all your maybe prospective clients, the people who might work with you. And I know I do. And I think about this and I think, okay, what is a way that I can guide here? If I was going to let them know that really surrender and letting go into that unknown and that uncertainty place is the way, that they don't really have to try at all. And actually it can be easy. And so here's one thing I love to remind people of is that fear is just a feeling. Fear is literally a physical feeling inside of your body. So if we can clear the mind of all the extra mental meaning and baggage we put on that feeling, we're going to be a step closer to that surrender you talk about. So, this is about awareness, I suppose, as the baby step.
True. Very true. And I will say for me, during my sort of journey into the descent, if that's what you want to call it, into the dark,
The abyss.
I began to notice, talking about awareness, I began to notice little synchronicities, things happening that were like little pieces of light that guided me through that process. And I think when we say, we go down into the dark places and we dig up that diamond and we bring it up with us, for me, I think it was the experience of seeing something bigger than myself come alongside me and walk me through the process. That was really incredible, because I grew up, like you said, the good girl. I grew up going to church 3 times a week, and, I had kind of a superficial understanding of religion. But when you actually experience something bigger than you walking you through the process, because there are these coincidences, things that happen that are unexplainable, that are pretty profound, and you think there's something else at work here. This is not something I could have orchestrated in my greatest plans. And so I began to realize there's something more here. Like my spiritual experiences were not something I was reading on a page. It was something I was actually living. And once you feel that, and you feel that support, you realize, oh my gosh, this is real. I am not alone in this process. I'm being guided. And it's like, oh, and then the confidence starts to build. And that's when you can go deeper and deeper and deeper into the suffering. And you start to fight it a little bit at a time. I wouldn't say fight. Let's say put light into it.
Yeah.
Because the suffering that we have, that's what brings us into communication with others who suffer. So if we resist it and run from it, how can we ever help other people? If we haven't dealt with it within ourselves, how can we ever think that we have the strength to help other people with theirs? So it's a beautiful process. It's beautiful.
So this is the perfect time for you to tell the listeners about how you work with people. Like, tell me about what are your programs? Do you do coaching? What's the deal?
Well, I don't really feel called to do coaching yet, because I still feel like I have so much to learn, And sometimes my spiritual lesson is it's not always pretty. And I'm like, I don't want to put that on anybody else. I still feel like I'm very much in the muck and the mud a lot of times. And I'm like, today if someone asked me what I thought, I'd tell them there's nothing, there's no point, there's nothing to it. And I think, well, that's not, it's like, I just still feel like that's not my path yet. And I feel that my art is something that I'm going to be taking out with me, doing more of these kind of workshops. The first workshop that I did, I kind of forced some of my friends to come. I say forced, but they were sweet enough to support me. Let's put it that way. My first workshop was actually on the heroine's journey.
Oh, nice.
And we made collage pieces. And the best part of it was, we did a little bit of self-reflection, a little bit of writing, and I had them really kind of think about their shadow self and the things that we keep hidden from public knowledge, and put that into a visual, into a collage. And then at the end, we discussed these parts of ourselves that we hide for one reason or another. And some of the profound things that came out in that group, I just felt honored to be a part of it, to be honest. And, these are never my sessions. It's kind of like whatever needs to be addressed within that group is what comes out. And it's just amazing to be a part of it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The energy is real. And when you get together and you do that kind of work together in community, it's amazing. I love hearing about that art project too. And art is such an amazing, beautiful way of tapping into that layer that you want to dive into. And it feels a little bit safer to do it through art. To me, sometimes I will get lost in painting, and it becomes so meditative and a way for me to just shed everything else, all the attachments, all the mental garbage that's on top of my, my day a lot of the time. And actually that's a perfect segue into this next question for you, which is, so it's, detaching from the outcome is something I've practiced for many years in the healing world. Talk to me about how you do that and how others can do it, how you help others do it. So, this idea of detaching from the outcome.
Yes, and it's so funny. I had never heard of it until I started art school. And
Yeah.
I remember it was in the women's bathroom. Someone had written on the wall, let go of the outcome. And I thought to myself, that makes no sense. Like being that straight A student, that achiever mindset, it's like, oh, that makes no sense to me. Let go of the outcome, because it's all about the outcome. When you're a competitive person, it's all about who wins and who loses.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic that I found that in the toilet of all places. But, again, going back to the idea of art as a teacher, that was the ultimate lesson was, in order to really, really give ourselves the freedom to create, we can't control what we want it to look like, because creativity is just the opposite of control. It is surrender, relaxing, and I think ultimately for me, my goal has to be the hollow bone. Have you heard of the hollow bone idea or theory?
No.
I believe it comes from a Native American tradition. I think it's a chief with the last name of Crow, I believe. My memory is failing me right now. But
yes.
Basically, the hollow bone is this idea that spirit flows through a passage. Like the more clear we become and the less of us, as in our egos, there is, the more of spirit is allowed to flow. So if we think of the hollow bone or something like a wind instrument, spirit can take us and use us and just blow through us that pure energy of love and light to others. And so as an artist, the hollow bone theory is perfect, because what I'm trying to do ultimately is to tap into that higher creativity that isn't limited and be able to bring that into my work and how I express myself. And that just means surrendering of this person or character of Christie, just shedding layer after layer and becoming something bigger than that limited person.
I love it. I love it. So what I say about my writing is I write to feng shui my soul, to clear a space for that flow to move through. And it's the exact same idea. I'm definitely going to be Googling the hollow bone story so I can read more about it. I think I have.
Absolutely.
Yes. I've seen a couple things on the walls of one of our healer people, John Barnes from the myofascial release community. And he's got a picture of a Native American man on the wall. And I wonder if this is the man. So I'm going to go look it up. Oh my goodness.
Please do. My memory is not great this morning.
No, I know you gave me enough to go on there. That's awesome. And I love the idea of that being a passage for spirit to flow through. This is so important also for everybody to realize that everybody has an opportunity to connect with that unlimited flow. Everybody that was born. If you
That's right.
born, you have the opportunity. Yeah. So for me, it's exciting. I get excited about that because some people who are still believing that they don't, what an amazing opportunity for them to learn that they do. Right.
That's right. That's right. And art was my path. There are many, many other paths, limitless number of paths.
Yes.
For this kind of healing and understanding. For me, it was just art. It was just a natural way to kind of visually see something, an idea, come into reality, to take something conceptual and make it into a physical piece of some sort.
Yeah, that's a really, really awesome point too. And even in when we talk about healing modalities, there are an unlimited number of different kinds of things you can try and connect with and explore. And you're so right. Not one thing is for everybody. And so I think the foundational message there is keep keep your hope up. There is something for you. If you haven't found it yet, just, you need